Hey dummies, I'm VJ and welcome back to episode 4, I believe, of Dragon Ball Month. I'll be taking this week's episode and I'll be talking about the Super Saiyan form. Everything from its intro and its lore to its narrative importance and maybe how to fix it? Let's jump into it. 1,000 years ago, on the planet Sadala, the first Super Saiyan was born. Yamoshi, a Saiyan of pure heart, uncovered a way for his people to achieve a power greater than that of the Ozaru. He believed that if he and his 5 closest friends performed a sacred ritual, he could lead the warrior race to their ultimate form, and they would thrive. However, Primal Saiyan's hubris caused them to reject Yamoshi's beliefs. In fact, they turned on their righteous brother, forcing him to watch as they murdered his friends in front of him. Yamoshi lost all reason, giving in to his rage as his hair turned golden and his eyes glinted an emerald green. He fought the evil Saiyans, killing many, until he could not fight anymore. Yamoshi's body died, but his story lives on. The first Super Saiyan. Or legendary Super Saiyan, it's unclear. The Super Saiyan form is a special one indeed. It almost single-handedly jump-started an entire genre of anime, and it is the reason I wanted to be an artist. But when I read over my Dragon Ball comics for the 100th time, I couldn't help but get the feeling that this awesome form was misused. Don't believe me? Let's take a closer look to see what I mean. In the Frieza arc, Goku became the first Super Saiyan in a millennium, and it was glorious. Fans were treated to one of the best shonen fights to ever grace our eyeballs, and we never looked back. But, more importantly than the form itself, I'd argue that the story and the build-up around it are what made it so special. It was teased in the Saiyan arc, and on Namek, Vegeta couldn't shut up about it. He even claimed that he had become one. And we didn't know what a Super Saiyan was, so we had no idea what to expect, or if anything had truly changed. But when we saw Goku transform, damn. The problem with Super Saiyan now is that everyone has received it, and stronger versions of it come up like there's no tomorrow. Take the Cell arc, for example. Future Trunk just shows up right after Goku's climactic transformation in battle, and completely invalidates the whole thing. He turns Super Saiyan and slaps Frieza around like it's nothing. Look, I love Future Trunks. Everyone does. He's like my favorite character. But the way he is introduced impacts the story negatively, and more importantly, it takes away from the Super Saiyan form. And he's not the only one. Vegeta becomes a Super Saiyan, off-screen, and then trains to become Super Vegeta. Like what? Trunks ascends to the level above Super Saiyan 2, and Goku. All this in the span of a few chapters. Gohan becomes Super Saiyan through training only, and then he becomes Super Saiyan 2 right after. I'm not sure that's how that works. Again, these transformations are cool in the moment, but with the exception of Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, I'd say that none of them are earned. Because of this, it makes Goku's struggle to achieve Super Saiyan seem trivial, and by proxy, the Super Saiyan form itself becomes less special. And that's just the Cell arc. The importance of Super Saiyan has all begun to crap as the series goes on. In fact, one of Dragon Ball Super's many complaints is that the power scaling's all over the damn place. Nothing matters anymore, especially not the forms. Look, it's easy for me to sit here with the power of hindsight and criticize Toriyama's work. But it cannot be denied that what this man created is nothing short of amazing. It's just fun to wonder about what could have been. So I figured, for this episode, why not do just that? Keep in mind, I'm not a writer, and I don't think what I'm about to suggest is perfect, but I'd like to take a crack at tweaking the Cell arc in particular, in order to make the Super Saiyan form special again. Feel free to let me know how you would change the story for the better in the comments, or if you think I'm full of crap. That's what I think, at least. The scene sets on Future Trunks' timeline. Future Gohan and Trunks are having a chat, very similar to that one scene in the comics. Trunks mentions how, if things were a little different, motioning to Gohan's missing arm, Gohan could have probably defeated the androids. This is foreshadowing, remember this, it's important. Suddenly, the androids attack, and Future Gohan becomes a Super Saiyan? Trunks insists he could fight alongside him, but Gohan knocks him out. Some time passes, Trunks wakes up and finds Gohan dead. He becomes enraged and has a cry. An important note here, Trunks does not turn into a Super Saiyan. I feel like Goku trained his whole life for that, and while thematically appropriate, I feel like Trunks wouldn't be at the level required to become a Super Saiyan just yet. Cut to the present timeline. Frieza doesn't come back just to get clapped by Trunks in my version. It's kind of dumb and it takes away from his character. Also, his return really only serves to introduce Trunks. There are other ways to do that. Also, an important note is Goku does not show up right away. But, cut to the present timeline, Bulma, holding a baby Trunks, detects an energy signature, some unrecognized Capsule Corp tech. She warns the Z Fighters, believing it could be Goku, or some unknown threat. The group meet up and encounter none other than future Trunks, who warns them of the androids. Talks about their insane power and how they ruin the future, killing all the Z Fighters, and he says that they're coming soon. In my version, I'd say they show up closer to 3 months' time, rather than a year. You'll see the reason for this, as I'm about to explain. So, in these 3 months, instead of returning to the future, Trunks stays in this timeline. That would give him time to bond with the Z Fighters, namely Gohan and Vegeta. He becomes fast friends with Gohan, but has difficulty with his father. They have their moments, but they grow irritated with each other as time progresses. He does get along with Bulma, though, and I think Trunks would do his best to not mention that he is their son. You know, butterfly effect and all that. And I'm not trying to rebuild this whole arc from the ground up. I'm just trying to tweak it a little bit. So, you know, that's neither here nor there. I will say that Vegeta does not know that Trunks is his son yet. Anyway, 3 months go by, and androids 19 and 20 show up, and the story progresses normally. They kill citizens, Yamcha gets sucked, etc. The others detect this, and show up along with Trunks, who realizes that they are in fact not the same androids from his timeline. The androids are about to begin fighting the Z Fighters until Goku shows up to save them. He does this with either instant transmission or on a ship, it doesn't matter. But he shows up and he turns Super Saiyan, and it's awesome. Another important note here is that Vegeta is present during this whole thing. He does not become Super Saiyan. It's a cool moment in canon, but he learns how to transform off-screen, and the reasoning is summed up in a line of throwaway dialogue, something about him having a heart of pure evil, which I won't take away from him at this point in the story, but even then it's kind of superfluous because he has done some semi-heroic things, I guess. It just didn't make sense to me. It's kind of cheap AF. Little Dragon Ball pun for you guys at home. And I don't like it. Also, Goku does not get sick in my version. His heart disease is a contrivance to get Trunks to return to the past, but I'd say that the androids could be a big enough reason for that, regardless. Anyway, the story resumes, and the chase happens up until androids 17 and 18 are woken up, and they fight Goku and the gang. However, in my version, because of their infinite energy, the Z-Fighters eventually wear themselves out, and the androids even overpower Goku's Super Saiyan form, like they did Vegeta. Maybe they kill off 1 or 2 of the fighters for more impact and to make them even more of a threat. Toriyama practically forgets about some of them anyway, so why not? At this point, I'd say that the androids have not taken away from the importance of Super Saiyan because they were able to compete with it, but they did not overpower it. They only eventually won because they did not get tired, unlike Goku. And they have been presented as an interesting new enemy, in my opinion. No offense to Cell, but he's basically a budget Frieza. Oh, I am the ultimate life form, and you are all beneath me, and I can transform several times, and I am green! You know, I'm generalizing, but you get it. Because of this, and for better continuity, I don't think Cell is necessary in this version. When I say continuity, I mean Cell from the future killing Trunks and going back into the past, but not the Trunks that we see, a future version of Trunks. It gets messy. We don't need to worry about that. Moving on. The androids have messed up and even killed some of the Z Fighters. Maybe Tien gets a heroic send-off like when he held back Cell in canon. Maybe Yamcha wasn't useless. Would be pretty dope. But the gang realize that they need to find a way to combat this new threat, and they must do this quickly because the androids have already begun wreaking havoc on their world. Trunks is told about the hyperbolic time chamber, something that he didn't have access to in his timeline. Now, along with training to get stronger, this time will serve as character development. I want to see more time spent in the chamber, and I'm torn on which direction to take this, if I'm being honest. On one hand, I would like to have Trunks train with Vegeta like in the source material, because it develops their relationships, though I would actually like to see it this time. This would also serve a role later because it would be here where Vegeta learns that Trunks is his son. On top of that, Trunks would learn how to become Super Saiyan. Probably because on top of his past trauma with Gohan, he's pissed at his dad for some reason. Which makes sense because, like I've stated before, Vegeta's a kind of a jerk at this point. On the other hand, I think it would be freaking incredible if Gohan and Trunks could train together. I swear we did not get enough of future Trunks and Gohan interacting. So much wasted potential. Dragon Ball Super kinda touched on this with a cute little send-off moment, but that's about it. And that is one of the only good things I'll say about Super, because there are not many. Oh, and Vegeta would train with a recovered Goku. The second option is arguably the weaker narrative, and it takes away from Vegeta's character, which he definitely does not need. But he's had the spotlight on him for a while now, so we can sit back for a minute. Plus, he really does shine in the Buu arc, so we could have that one. Get out of here, Super Saiyan 3. No one likes you. In either case, Vegeta begins to warm up, but would grow increasingly frustrated that he can't become a Super Saiyan. Some build up for a future arc, perhaps? Also, whoever trained with Gohan would reiterate how powerful he is becoming, and that he might be the one to defeat the androids, one day.
That's more foreshadowing if you didn't catch on that. Okay, moving on.
Now for the finale, and I'd like for it to really celebrate the awesome power of Super Saiyan. In traditional Dragon Ball form, this battle would be pretty long because it is one of attrition, different from what we've seen before, and showcasing the progress made by all of the Z fighters. But this time they can all fight together, as opposed to having most of the cast sidelined during the Cell games. Now this fight would take forever, not only showing off the gang, but also the terrifying concept that is the androids, strong beings with infinite energy. I don't know, it seems cool to me. One by one, the gang would fall, leaving only our 4 favorite boys, Goku, Vegeta, Trunks, and Gohan. Now at this point, you might be asking, what about Senzu Beans? How could the Z fighters lose if they have an infinite pool of energy themselves? Well, Senzu Beans as a plot device are also really messy, and they had that in the Cell games and didn't use it, so I'm not counting that here. Sadly, despite having 2 Super Saiyans in the fray, Goku and Trunks, it still doesn't seem to be enough to defeat the androids. It is here when the stress of losing friend after friend will start to weigh on Gohan, making him angrier and angrier. Goku and Vegeta are down for the count, and it's just their sons left. The androids are on the young half-Saiyan in an instant, about to take him like they did in the future, when, in a dramatic twist, determined to change the fate of his mentor and best friend, Trunks sacrifices himself to save Gohan. The new Prince of Saiyans shares heartfelt last words, telling Gohan that he wouldn't let that happen again. Vegeta loses it, shedding tears that mark his turn to the good side. Gohan snaps, unleashing the ultimate power contained within, not Super Saiyan 2, but a Super Saiyan that only Gohan could achieve. Destined child, with more potential than anyone we've ever seen before. He overpowers the androids, saves his friends, falling action, happy ending. Boom. In conclusion, I said Super Saiyan a whole bunch during this video, because at the end of the day, I really like this transformation. I still do. I just don't love how it's been treated throughout the series. What I've suggested here may not be the best way to correct it, but it was fun to go over the history of the form and try to make it special again. If you like what you saw here and you want to see more, consider liking and subscribing. Be sure to leave in the comments if you think anything I said here makes sense, and if you'd like me to continue this fanfic, let me know too. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.